They told me I could take whatever I wanted from my aunt's estate. She had no children, no partner, only me. And although we hadn't spoken in years, the lawyer insisted. She wanted me to have something from her home, some keepsake, something to remember her by. I wish I had left with nothing. The house sat in silence, surrounded by tall pines that swayed without wind. It had been untouched for months, ever since her body was found, slumped over in her favorite chair, eyes wide open, lips parted as if caught mid-sentence. The cause of death? Unknown. The autopsy was inconclusive. No trauma, no poison, no sign of struggle. It was as if she had simply stopped. I stepped inside the house and was swallowed by its stillness. The curtains hadn't been drawn in weeks. Dust clung to everything like skin. The air smelled of aged paper, dried roses, and something sour underneath, like old milk or forgotten breath. As I wandered through the rooms, a sense of familiarity twisted with unease. The ticking of an old clock in the hall echoed too loudly. Every floorboard creaked as if groaning in pain. Then I found the doll. It sat alone in the upstairs study, placed delicately in the center of a lace-covered table. Its porcelain face was pale, far paler than any doll I had seen, and its lips were painted in a deep, unsettling shade of red. But its eyes were the color of dead leaves soaked in rain, glassy, wet, open, too open. And they never blinked, never looked away. There was a tag around its neck, faded ink on yellowed cardstock. Her name is Eliza. She doesn't like being alone. I stared at it for what felt like minutes. Then I picked it up. That was my first mistake. I don't know why I chose her. Maybe I felt sorry for the doll. Maybe I thought it was worth something. Maybe it was the loneliness in her stare that matched something deep in me I didn't want to admit. I took her home that evening, and from the moment I crossed the threshold with Eliza in my arms, the house changed. At first it was small, clocks slowing down, the air turning cold even with the heater on. That feeling, the one you get when you sense someone standing just behind you, but when you turn, no one's there. It became constant. I placed Eliza on the mantel in the living room. She fit oddly well there, like the space had been waiting for her. Watching her in daylight was uncomfortable but manageable. At night, it was unbearable. Her eyes, those terrible, always open eyes, seemed to glow in the dark. I would pass by the living room and swear they followed me. Once, I tripped in the hallway and swore I saw her blink just as I hit the floor. Then came the whispers, faint, just behind the walls. Why did you leave me? Sometimes it wasn't whispers. Sometimes it was weeping, muffled, mournful, not from any particular direction, just present. I told myself it was the stress, lack of sleep, guilt over my aunt. Until I woke one night to find Eliza sitting on my bedside table, her hands folded, her head tilted, her eyes staring straight into mine. I live alone. I wanted to believe I had moved her, forgotten. Maybe I was sleepwalking. Maybe this was all a hallucination, a long, exhausting nightmare. But then I started hearing my aunt's voice. At first I thought it was a dream. She would call out from another room, just like she did when I visited her as a child. "Sweetheart, come help me." One night I followed the voice. It led me to the living room. Eliza was gone, but the front door, locked every night, was wide open. I stood in the doorway for minutes, breathing, frozen, listening. Then I heard it, a whisper, inches from my ear. "She's mine now." I slammed the door shut, threw the doll into the garbage bin outside, and didn't sleep that night. But in the morning, Eliza was back, sitting on the mantel, her eyes wider than before, her mouth open just enough to reveal small white teeth. Dolls don't have teeth. That night I set her on fire. I watched as the flames licked across her dress, her face, her hands. I thought she screamed. It sounded like porcelain cracking. I buried what was left in a box wrapped in chains, buried deep in the woods where no one would ever find her. I moved houses, cities, changed jobs, started over. It was fine for a while until last week. I got a call. It was a woman from a thrift shop across the country. She said someone had dropped off a box addressed to me. Inside, a porcelain doll, eyes wide, teeth showing, and a note tied around her neck. She never sleeps. She never blinks. She just waits.